Everyone thinks the OnePlus 13R is the obvious budget flagship of 2025, the no-brainer upgrade. But here's the thing. You can absolutely waste your money on this phone if you buy it for the wrong reasons, because what it does insanely well is not what the hype is shouting about. On paper, it looks like the classic OnePlus Play: fast chip, slick screen, big battery, clean software. I went in expecting a cheaper flagship clone. After using it as my main phone, side by side with more expensive devices, the story turned out very different. Some parts blew past my expectations, and one specific area nearly made me return it. Stick with me, because the catch is not where most reviewers are pointing. Before we dive into what I discovered actually living with the OnePlus 13R, quick heads up. If you are already leaning toward buying it, I've dropped my affiliate link down in the description for the best current price. But seriously, watch this first, because there are a couple of gotchas that might completely change which version you pick, or if you should pick it at all. So here's where I was before the 13R. I was tired of paying premium flagship prices just to get smooth performance and decent battery life. My last so-called flagship killer ran great for the first few months, then started overheating, throttling in games, and the battery dropped off a cliff. I was done with $1,000 plus phones, but I also wasn't ready to live with a laggy mid-ranger that dies at 5 p.m. The R series from OnePlus has always been pitched as that sweet spot, near flagship power, lower price, with just a few compromises. I tried an older R model before and it came close, but the cameras and software polish held it back. So when the 13R launched with all the marketing about performance, battery, and a more refined camera system, I went in skeptical but hopeful. I used it as my main phone for work, content, and gaming to see if this finally solved the flagship killer promise, or if it was just another almost there phone. First thing I tested, raw performance and thermals. Daily stuff was expectedly smooth scrolling, switching apps, loading social media, all snappy. That's table stakes now. So I pushed it harder with long gaming sessions and multitasking with navigation, music, and background downloads. At first, it felt like a true flagship, with animations staying fluid and games running at high settings. But then, after about 30 to 40 minutes of continuous gaming, the frame rate started to dip a bit, and the back got noticeably warm. Not unusable, not a hand burner, but enough that you know this isn't tuned like a top-tier gaming phone. Still, for most people, the performance-to-price ratio here is very hard to beat. Then I moved to the display and media. Let's be real. If the screen sucks, the whole phone sucks. The 13R's panel is bright, colorful, and has that high refresh fluidity that makes every interaction feel premium. Indoors, it looks fantastic. Outdoors in direct sun, I could still read maps and messages without squinting, but there were moments when the auto brightness lagged behind and I had to nudge it. Not a deal breaker, but if you spend a lot of time outside, you will notice it. Watching videos and scrolling content, though, this screen absolutely feels like something you'd get on a much more expensive device. But here's where it gets interesting: battery and charging. OnePlus phones are known for fast charging, and the 13R continues that tradition. I threw everything at it: GPS navigation, camera use, streaming, social, Bluetooth audio. On heavy days, I could end a 16-hour day with some juice left, and on lighter days, it comfortably stretched into the next morning. The real magic, though, is how quickly it tops up. A short charge while getting ready or making coffee took it from anxiety-level battery to more than enough to finish the day. The trade-off. With that kind of fast charging, long-term battery health is still a question mark, especially if you hammer it daily. In my testing window, it was excellent, but you have to be mindful of how often you abuse that fast charger. Then we hit the cameras, the part everyone argues about. Photos in good light are sharp, detailed, and very social media ready. Colors lean toward that slightly punchy, eye-catching style OnePlus fans know. But then you move into low light and tricky indoor scenes, and the story changes. The main camera holds up decently, but the secondary lenses start to reveal their limits. Noise creeps in, detail drops, and you can feel that this is the area where OnePlus saved money to keep the price down. If you are upgrading from an older mid-ranger, you'll be impressed. If you're coming from a top-tier flagship from Samsung or Google, you'll see the gap, especially at night. Video is stable enough for casual use, but not in the same league as the best of the best. The biggest surprise for me, though, wasn't hardware. It was software and long-term value. Day to day, the software feels fast and familiar if you've used recent OnePlus phones. Clean, customizable, with useful features that don't get in your way. But I dug deeper into the update policy and regional differences. Depending on where you live, the number of major Android updates and security patches promised for the 13R is not as generous as the biggest players. And in some regions, you'll see more pre-installed apps than you might like. None of this is obvious on the spec sheet, but it massively affects how long this phone will feel fresh. If you plan to keep your phone for 3 or 4 years, this is where the 13R might quietly cost you more than you think. So after all that testing, here's the revelation. The OnePlus 13R is not a baby flagship. It is a brutally efficient performance and battery machine with a good, not great, camera system and a decent, not class-leading, update story. I spent real time pushing this thing in the ways most people actually use phones, and where it shines is as a daily workhorse for people who value speed and endurance over camera wizardry and long-term software support. Against similarly priced competition, it often feels faster and more responsive, and the charging experience is addictive. Against true flagships, it loses in the camera and future-proofing game. That whole flagship killer label. It's only true if your priorities match what this phone is optimized for. If you buy it because you think you're getting a discounted Ultra or Pro experience, you'll be disappointed. If you buy it as a value performance beast, you'll smile every time you pick it up. Now that you know where the OnePlus 13R actually wins and where it clearly compromises, the next step is simple. If this fits your priorities, grab it while the price is still competitive and stock is good. I've linked the best current deal I could find down in the description, so check that before you pull the trigger and make sure you're getting the right variant. Bottom line, the OnePlus 13R is absolutely worth your money, but only if you understand what you are really paying for. Power users, gamers, and anyone who hates battery anxiety will love this. Camera snobs and long-term update nerds should probably look elsewhere or spend more. It's not the perfect phone, and it's not the cheap flagship fantasy the marketing suggests. It's a focused tool that nails speed and endurance at its price. Use it for what it's great at, skip it if you want everything. Don't waste your money buying the wrong phone for the wrong reasons.